Hey GAWDA members, welcome to the August episode of GAWDA TV. Registration for this year's annual convention is open now. This year's convention takes place in Tampa, Florida from October 8th through the 11th at the beautiful JW Marriott Tampa Water Street. Here with us today to talk more about this year's annual convention is GAWDA's Vice President of Operations and Administration, Natasha Alexis. Today's convention update is brought to you by Air Products. Air Products touches the lives of consumers around the globe in positive ways every day. Focused on serving energy, environment, and emerging markets, Air Products provides essential industrial gases, related equipment, and applications expertise to customers in dozens of industries. Natasha, thank you so much for being with us today. It's been exciting times at GAWDA since we spoke last month. Can you tell members what you're excited about for this year's show and what they need to know as they go to register?
Yes, so we launched registration, Steve, about 3 weeks ago, and we already have over 550 GAWDA members registered to attend. Amazing momentum and excitement around this event. We're pumped. It's going to be hosted in Tampa, Florida, right on the bay. The Florida Gulf Coast, which is beautiful destination for those looking for a really resort vacation-y destination, right? The hotel is in the heart of downtown Tampa, less than 10 miles from the airport. We have 2 hotels, good options for members connected by Skybridge. So it's easy to navigate and get between. The one hotel is sitting right on the water with beautiful views, sunset, sunrise. So beautiful location, which we're really excited about. And registration is going great.
Convention is the marquee event of the year at GAWDA, and it features several events that can only be found during the annual convention, including Networking 360. As members are registering for Networking 360, is there anything that they should know?
Well, it's sold out due to high demand. You can reach out to Tim Hudson, who has been really our MVP in making the matches for these 5-minute discussions, which is always a highlight in the meeting, right? Meeting with a member that you normally wouldn't meet with or get that 5 minutes to hear about different products or services. So there may be, you never know, an opening down the road, but right now it is sold out and we're just excited again to connect members, have those discussions, and to build relationships.
Convention is also the opportunity to hear from our biggest speakers of the year. Last year in Arizona, we had Rob Gronkowski. Can you share with viewers who this year's keynote speaker will be?
Well, drum roll, please, Steve. We're excited to have locked in CEO of Duck Commander and producer of Duck Dynasty, Willie Robinson, which will speak on the closing business session day. And it's going to be a really relaxed format, kind of a Q&A led by our very own GAWDA president, Eric Wood, where we just get an intimate look at the Robinsons' legacy, their family business, their family values, and the culture of Duck Dynasty, right? We kind of get that insider perspective. So really excited to get this opportunity to learn more about him and for him to share his insights with our members.
Finally, I love the way that Robert Anders put it when we were in Maui. Convention concludes with a blowout party every year. What can you tell us about this year's farewell gala?
Yeah, we have a unique, fun venue called the Motor Enclave, which is an opportunity for members to kind of wrap up and relax at a unique venue with fast cars, simulations, good music, good food, a lot happening, a multiple level, huge venue, lots of room to network, connect, final touch points with members, right? And you can sign up if you're an adventurous member to be driven in one of those fast cars. We have 600 seats, different type of luxury cars. When we were there, I think I saw, I don't know cars well, Ferraris and different fancy kind of car. So you still have time to sign up on the GAWDA website for that. And lots of cool sponsorship opportunities as well. Reach out to Bruce for those opportunities. So we're excited, Steve. Another memorable event, making memories, friendships. It's going to be a great time.
The other thing that I always love during the convention is the awarding of the GAWDA Gives Back charity, which this year is celebrating its 25th anniversary. What can you tell members about this year's GAWDA Gives Back?
Yes, it is very special to work for such a generous group, a generous industry. We are talking about 25 years, Steve, over $3 million donated to cities where we host our conventions. And this was created to thank the communities that hosted us so graciously, right? So this year, we're giving back to Black Dagger, which is kind of a therapeutic organization created to help our veterans, to put them back in nature, to help them heal and combat their wounds. So really meaningful. And it's 100% volunteer-led organization. So all the funds are going back to the veterans who need it. And they're hoping to get their own area where they can do their hunting, fishing, and really just put these wounded warriors back in nature to start their healing. So very impactful and meaningful organization. And we're happy to support and hope all members will be joining us in giving back to this very notable cause.
This entire year, but especially this year's convention, have been a celebration of GAWDA's 80th anniversary. The theme for the year has been sustaining a resilient culture. Can you share with viewers how GAWDA has sustained and even built on the culture that was established 80 years ago?
Wow, that is a great question, Steve. And I have been around for just a little bit of the 80 years, right? But what has been consistent is that GAWDA members really care about their businesses, this industry, and though some members compete against one another, they want to ensure their colleagues are successful in their regions, in their businesses, and that shows, right? Down to even like the newcomers event where we have more senior members serving as guides and really taking the time to show new members and newcomers to national meetings what GAWDA is all about. It's just a bunch of difference making, meaningful people who have really built a legacy organization, and I'm proud to be a part of it.
Natasha, we can't wait to see everybody again in beautiful Tampa. Is there any last messages that you have that you want to share with viewers before we go?
Oh, I'm excited to see everyone in Tampa. If you have any questions, please reach out at any point. We're here to serve you. Just really excited to welcome everyone to Tampa, Florida, as we learn how to sustain a resilient culture.
Thank you so much for being with us today. We really appreciate it. We've got a great show lined up for you today, and it all comes right after a word from today's presenting sponsor, Weldcoa. We're lucky enough to be joined next today by Michael Trueba. Michael is the co-chair of GAWDA's Northeast Regional Meeting, which will be taking place from August 11th to the 13th at Foxwoods Casino in Connecticut. Michael, we appreciate you being with us today. Let's start there. The Northeast Regional Meeting, as it has been in past years, is the last regional meeting of the season. So if members haven't made it to a regional yet this year, make sure to get registered for this one. Can you tell us what you've got in store that you're really excited about for this year's event?
Sure. Yeah, this is a nice venue that we're having this year. It's going to be at Foxwoods Hotel and Casino in Connecticut. It's a beautiful venue. They accommodate us very well by first offering on the first day. We're going to have a event hosted by the Young Professionals Committee. It's actually going to be hosted at Maine Oxy, but the Young Professionals Committee is organizing it. And we're going to have some live demonstrations. Fuel the Spark is what it's named. And we're going to have some live demonstrations by supplier members. And we've got a good turnout for that so far. So it's looking good. That's Monday evening. Then after that event, we're going back to the hotel. They're going to have a happy hour for the attendees. On Tuesday morning, we go to Mystic Seaport, and that's going to be a fun event. We did that a couple of years ago. People were very happy with it. It's a great museum they have there, and we also have a boat tour, which is followed by a bus ride over to Vineyard, which is also very nice. Of course, sitting out on a summer day at a vineyard, tasting wines and getting the tour. It's a lot of fun. And then Tuesday night after the vineyard, we go back to the hotel and we have the dinner and reception, which is very well attended. And it's a great place to meet GAWDA members and renew old friendships and so on. And then the final day, which is Wednesday, is the business meeting. We have some great speakers for that particular meeting, and that's going to be very educational, informative, followed by the dinner after golf, post golf dinner. So it's 3 packed days with plenty to do.
The Northeast Regional always has amazing educational content. This year, you've got sessions from Kevin Falconer, Maura Garvey, and Marilyn Dempsey, along with a distributor panel. Can you tell us a little bit more about the educational opportunities that this year's event will have?
The speakers are good. We've got some reviews on the gas market, and I think you'll want to be in tune with what's happening there. The distributor panel is going to be good. That's Lloyd Robinson's putting that together. The distributor panel is going to be good. We put together a bunch of speakers from different distributors, and they're going to have a little discussion on various subjects. But I think that's going to be quite interesting. It's something different, hasn't been done before, and I'm looking forward to seeing that. But Maura Garvey and Marilyn Dempsey, they do a great job. As you know, Marilyn Dempsey's a GAWDA consultant, and she's going to bring us up to date on different regulations and so on that we need to keep up to speed on. And Maura Garvey is an expert in the gas market, and she'll bring us up to speed on changes and new happenings there. And you also mentioned Kevin Falconer. Kevin's going to do the GAWDA update, so he'll mention, of course, the annual meeting that's coming up and give us some good information on that.
We've talked about this in the past, but the Northeast Regional wasn't always the last regional of the year. In fact, it used to be the first regional, and one year it even snowed. But next year, it's intentionally going to be the first regional in February, and we're hoping for lots of snow. So can you give us a sneak preview?
Well, as you mentioned, the Northeast Regional has been bounced around on the calendar for a variety of reasons. But rather than try to go up against other industry related events and worrying about the schedule, that in addition to the fact that we wanted to do something new and different rather than the same old thing every year, prompted me to really look at doing a skiing event in February. Good month for skiing, of course. Not so good for golf, but very good for skiing. So what we're going to do is something different. Not only is it going to be skiing, but the goal here is to make this an educational event, something that's a little different than what's normally done at the regional meetings. This is going to be there's going to be a seminar, a higher level seminar regarding AI and how AI should be used in the industry and how it can help a distributor member, for example, grow their sales and marketing efforts, grow their business and manage their business so that it becomes more profitable. And our goal is to make this an event that you just can't miss. You don't want to pass up. That's the main focus. Of course, the gravy is the skiing and the venue itself, and there's going to be a lot of fun. Snowmobiling, skiing, tubing, ice skating. I mean, there's going to be plenty of activity. You don't have to be an expert skier to come. All you have to do is want to learn and mingle and basically meet new people.
I can't wait for that event. It's going to be February 23rd to the 25th in Killington, Vermont, so make sure to mark that on your calendars. Michael, just shifting gears here for a minute, we're wrapping up our third quarter issue of Welding Gases Today, which is the Milestones issue. This year is MPT Industries' 40th anniversary. Can you talk about that journey and what it means to be celebrating this milestone this year?
Sure. Well, the journey, we've made a lot of different changes over the years. When I first started the company 40 years ago, basically, we were a distributor of automotive related parts and accessories, and quickly decided that that really wasn't the or shouldn't be the focus. So we gradually started to manufacture various products, lubricants and appearance, what we call appearance products, polishes and things like that. We got into car covers. It wasn't the oxygen compatible products that we manufacture for the GAWDA members. We really didn't get into that until probably about 10 years in. So those products have been available through us now for over 20 years, 25 years or so. Uh, Again, a lot of twists and turns. Right now, we're working on a new product line for GAWDA members that's going to be focused on putting out fires and cooling hot metals. So it'll be packaged in an aerosol, for example, and you'll be able to just spray it on whatever you're welding and it'll cool it down instantly. You won't have to wait. Whereas if you put it on water on it, you may have to wait a few minutes. Water cools it, but not as quickly as this stuff. So that's a new product line for us, and it's just been a fabulous 40 years. What can I say? It's been a pleasure to work it and watch it grow.
Congratulations, Michael. Thank you so much for being with us today, and we can't wait to see you in a few weeks in Connecticut.
Are you a gas distributor, plant manager, franchise owner, or operations manager? Do you work around hazardous gases such as carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, hydrogen, ammonia, methane, or argon? Meet the MSC2 CO2 meters fixed multi-gas detector, your industrial gas safety solution. Feel confident knowing your staff, employees, and establishment are protected when working near hazardous gases. Don't wait until it's too late. Shop the MSC2 fixed multi-gas detector today at CO2Meter.com.
Joining us next today on the show are Joe Francis and Kevin Falconer. Joe is the CEO of Central McGowan, and Kevin is the president of Minneapolis Oxygen. In March of this year, Central McGowan and Minneapolis Oxygen announced a historic merger. It's rare to see two companies of this size and stature come together like that. So can you take us inside that announcement?
It probably goes back, I don't know, Kevin, a dozen years, give or take. At least for me, I've always had an aspiration to grow Central McGowan, like Kevin has for MO2. I found that growing our business early on was much more difficult organically than it was to just acquire companies. We were in a space where there's a lot of good independent gas suppliers, and to continue to compete to grow was just challenging. I think I approached Kevin. Probably a dozen years ago. And we started talking, and obviously my goal was acquisition at that time. And that was not Kevin's goal to be acquired. And, we continued those conversations over the next 10 plus years and really landed on, hey, look, our core values are aligned. The way we do business is aligned. Our aspirations for growth are aligned. Why don't we just put the businesses together, and move on? We would work together well. The teams would work together well. And ultimately, if there's, no debt related to acquiring a business and we just put our companies together, we, immediately become stronger. Overlapping regions, overlapping sales territories, overlapping branches. I mean, we were in each other's business anyways. So it just was easy for us to say, hey, you have a good team. We have a good team. let's put them together and see how this could, come to fruition. Obviously, there's a lot more detail that had to go into it, probably more so over the last, 6 to 9 months. Shareholder agreements and organizational chart designs and integration activities, ERP, you name it. There's a lot of work, but that was the concept and why it made sense.
When the merger was initially announced, it said that both companies will continue to operate under their respective names and no changes were to be made to the day-to-day operations. Can you take us behind the scenes, though, and describe everybody's role in the transition and what it's looked like from a corporate level?
Yeah, that was the plan. Operate separately for a while, but once we announced and we talked to our teams, there was an energy and an excitement, both at Central and at Minneapolis, to what can we do? How can we utilize their team? Who do I need to talk to over there? And how can I get help from the Central team? How can I utilize their assets and vice versa? So that actually got sped up, more driven internally than top down between Joe and I and the other leadership teams, because they wanted to see what they could do together. We showed them a couple of quick wins, and they just wanted more wins. And they were like, "Hey, how can we do this faster?" So we started. Joe and I had an outline early on of what it would look like, and we just had to speed up our timetable to match the employees' excitement. And so, both internally, Joe and I are obviously owners. Joe sits in the CEO role. I have an executive vice president role. We're part of an executive leadership team. So it's Joe and I. Chris Babich is our CFO, and Jason Kirby is our president COO. So he'll be taking over the day-to-day. And then, we looked at both of our leadership teams, and we consolidated our leadership teams to have representatives from both companies on that leadership team, and then really making decisions for the good of the whole. And that's where we sit today. Still working out a few details on the org chart, but we've rolled that out, shared that with the company. People are excited, but the work never ends when you're putting together two companies like ours, as well as the acquisition that we made 1 month after our merger. So there's a lot still to be done, but I think right now we're in a pretty good spot to filter that out. And like Joe said, there's a lot of back end things that weren't necessarily on the radar that we were going to get done, aiming to get done in 2025, but we've sped up that process.
Yeah, and Kevin said it best, that the team is driving kind of our timeline. Honestly, we built this to say, look, we're not going to mess up either company in this process. It can take as long as it needs to, or as short as it needs to. And we did all the back end formation. So Kevin and I own a holding company that owns the businesses, and a little carrot is there'll be some announcements soon in terms of some branding and some naming and some of that consolidation effort of the two companies. Well, really three, because we had Bemidji welder supply up in northern Minnesota earlier last year, and then obviously M&H down in KC. So it's really four companies coming together. Obviously, Kevin and I's business, Central McGowan and MO2, being kind of the most sizable of the four, but there'll be some exciting things coming, and it's team driven, and we're pretty excited.
Joe, you just touched on it. Leading up to the announcement of this merger, Central McGowan had been very active in the M&A space. And since the merger was announced, you've even announced another merger. What is the acquisition strategy, and how have you been able to integrate all of these different companies and cultures under one banner?
Yeah, so I mean, at the end of the day, everybody says it, but it starts with a team, a good team. We've built an internal acquisition integration process. We have team members from various parts of the organization that participate on that team. So, anytime we have an acquisition, call it historically, it gets a project name, integration team gets assembled, and we build out a plan, for how we're going to acquire and integrate. More broadly, it is why have we been doing them, and what's the purpose, what's the strategy going forward. Companies with similar core values, traditionally, second, third, fourth generation family-owned businesses that don't necessarily want to sell to a major or private equity. They have aligned values. They want to take care of the people. They want to take care of their customers. That's the first part. It's a good fit. So we have the team, we have the fit for the acquiree, and we say, all right, how do we work through this? And every acquisition is creative in its own sense, from how we structure the timeline, from how long it takes to get from the first conversation to close. It's been as short as probably 6 months, and it's been as long as 3 years. So we're just adaptive. We're nimble. We have what we want, which is those core values and a good team that cares about people and customers. But then we listen to the owners on the other side to say, hey, look, what do you want? We can be creative, yet we don't have an endless supply of capital to, give you a crazy multiple, but, we can also do things that others can't in terms of, adapting to the needs of the owner. And that may be, they want to work for a while, or they want to, defer some taxable income, or they want to do this, or they want to do that. And, we can adapt to that. So that's been kind of our secret, a little bit of our secret sauce, is just being adaptable.
M&A activity has been increasing in recent years, including sales to majors and infusions of cash from private equity firms. But for you, what has it meant to be able to increase your size the way that you've done while still retaining your independence?
I'll put it in this way. We want to remain, independent. We want to remain independent thinkers and independent doers, and supporting our customers to the best of our ability. And we believe that by having control, we can do that. I'm not going to lie to you. Obviously, acquiring companies is expensive. It takes capital. It takes resources. It takes good banking relationships. It takes financial aptitude and creativity to be able to put things together. So couple that with, having good relationships in those environments, but then also, go back to the merge. By Kevin and I putting our businesses together, the strength in our balance sheet, the strength in our P&L, the strength to take on new customers with the increased asset base, increased team, increased service and value model, we just expedited our growth and our ability to acquire more by doing that. That's really what led into the M&H acquisition. I had been working on that personally, and I obviously brought Kevin into the loop, before we completed the merger, but it was like, hey, it was a little bit of a more sizable acquisition, good sized business based out of Kansas City. Like, hey, if we do this right, we put our businesses together on the front end of this, we have the strength to be able to, acquire M&H at the value that ownership group wanted to be acquired for. And we're sitting in a very strong position that now we can integrate our teams and our assets and our capabilities to then use that as another leap forward. So I think that's kind of a little bit of the magic. Kevin, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Yeah, I think what's unique about, what Joe and I did was, through Joe's acquisitions before, the back end work and the integration work really fell on the Central McGowan team, right? Where when we did a merger, I think his team was relieved a little bit in the fact that, like, oh, we've got Minneapolis Oxygen's crew coming along with us, and we can work on this together. So the bandwidth to not only integrate our business, but be able a month later to acquire M&H and bring that on board, it was a truly a team effort, right? To do that, and it continues to be a team effort. It's a little bit newer to us because we weren't in the acquisition business prior. Joe's team has familiarity with that, but we bring the people power and some skills on the other side, on the back end side, to really help expedite that process. And hopefully, I'm hesitant to use the word seamless, but ease the transition of another acquisition while we're working on integrating our two companies, and actually, like Joe said earlier, four companies.
Well, and I'll add, Steve, Kevin and I probably got lucky in the fact of when you put our teams side by side alongside of each other, they filled gaps that we had and vice versa. So, you can't plan for that necessarily, but call it during and then post the merge process, we realized, hey, look, this is perfect. He had strength in IT. We had strength in finance. We both had strength in ops, and we needed multiple operational leaders. We both had strength in sales. We both needed we needed strength in sales leaders for the two. Uh, and I'll give one more shout out to Jason Kirby. He's not on the screen today with us, but having him on our team, and for Kevin and I to have that leader within the organization that can latch on to the senior leadership team and really lead and guide and become the person that's focusing on that day-to-day effort of not only integrating but thinking about growth and thinking about the next chapter. That's been I think a win for Kevin and I, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, I'd echo that. Obviously Joe and I got along. We thought our company cultures were very similar. Our geographic footprints fit really well. But ultimately, you got to have the team and really the leader of that team to take that next step. I didn't have that on my team. I was an owner and president. Joe was already in the C-suite, being the CEO, strategic vision, acquisitions, all that. And he had Jason, which, he was the right guy. That was a great hire by Joe, and having him in place already where we didn't have to go outside and bring somebody in to run the day to day was really beneficial. And I think, really sealed the deal for me as to, looking forward past merger, like how do we integrate all of this? Who's going to be the key stakeholder that Joe and I can trust to really drive the integration and drive the cultures together? And Jason was the right guy for sure.
Last question for you both. I've had the opportunity to get to know both of you over the last several years, and I know that you're both very considerate, cerebral guys. But even with a dozen years of planning, has there been anything that has popped up that surprised you during this whole process?
We're probably both going to have maybe a similar answer, but I'm used to being prepared for curveballs and things that were unexpected, and you always plan worst case scenario. And I haven't had to dip into any of that. There have, knock on wood, right? Things have just been a lot smoother than one would anticipate. Not that they shouldn't be smooth, but anytime you put two 80-year-old businesses together and then acquire more and have previous, there's a lot going on. It's been a smooth transition. It's been fun, and I think the speed in which our teams have been pushing us to work together, and the excitement and the momentum that we've got now. I didn't necessarily expect that. I thought that would be more leadership work to build that into the org, but it's been kind of natural.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they've all been pleasant surprises so far. I mean, there's obviously there's tough work. There's been some things that needed our attention. But going into something like this, there's a lot of unknowns, right? You run your business separately. You're the sole decision makers. There was a lot of unknowns that make one hesitant to really get it across the finish line. But it's all been good. The teams have aligned. The cultures have aligned. They want more. It's been a joy working with Chris and Joe and Jason on the executive leadership team. We think alike. We have similar goals. And then that trickles down all through our people too. And it's just, I'm sure there's probably something on the horizon that might come up, where there's not as much alignment, but right now it's worked really well. We've all got the same goals. We're all team players trying to win, trying to do the best thing for our people and our customers. And so I've been surprised at how seamless that piece and that transition has been.
Well, gentlemen, you both deserve it. I'm glad that's working out so well, and I really appreciate you being with us today.
Yeah, and I'll leave it with this. For others, contemplating doing something like this, it starts with, your core values and your purpose and your vision and your strategy. Then you need the right people and a good team. Gotta have financial literacy, understand your balance sheets and your P&Ls and how the business operates on a financial statement, and then have good financial partners. Anything's possible. Every independent distributor in the country is a strong business, comparing us to other industries. So I would say I'll leave it with that, that makes you have the ability to acquire, and or if you are looking to sell, there are other options.
And finally, we're lucky enough to be joined today by the Member Service Committee's Colleen Kohler and Nico Arvelo.
Everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. We have Nico Arvelo from Equigas here, and we were going to ask him about organizing the Southeast Regional this year. So thank you so much, Nico, for joining us. So why don't we start from the beginning? How did you get involved with the Southeast Regional as a young professional?
So that's a bit of a funny story, and I'll tell you guys the real story. So it was going to be planned in Greenville, South Carolina, and it was my dad's turn to host it. And then once I got involved, I told him, I was like, hey, that's where the BMW performance school is. Like, can I help you guys out with that? And they said, sure, whatever. So I contacted BMW and did everything for that. And then I go back to Linda, and then I told Linda, hey, so we have everything set, we have everything planned for the BMW. And then Linda goes back to me and she says, well, what about the hotel, the golf, the transportation, and everything else? And I said, oh, my dad will take care of that. So I report back to my dad and I said, hey, what about the hotel, the golf, the transportation? And he says, well, can you take care of that? So I pretty much got voluntold to host the Southeast Regional, and I loved it. It was a great time. I really enjoyed doing it, and it was really rewarding. So I have no regrets about doing it, and I definitely want to keep doing it as well.
Awesome. It was a very well-attended event. I was there myself, and it was a lot of fun. So what are some of the takeaways hosting your first GAWDA event? Like what do you feel worked? What do you feel was a challenge? Any takeaways?
So GAWDA staff was definitely very helpful. I had no idea how tedious contracts can be. Contracts with the hotels, with the venues, with the golf sites. Definitely the biggest takeaway was plan ahead. A lot of things can go wrong that you don't really think about. So just taking your time, and definitely relying on the people that can help you. If they offer help, take it.
You had a couple very powerful speakers too at the regional meeting. You had Britt Levin, who was talking about the impact of the storms down in the Southeast region. Did you happen to meet with him prior to the event to review like what he was going to talk about, or did he kind of want it to be, a surprise, or not bad word to use, but fresh content, and didn't really know how he was going to deliver that message?
So we kind of had an outline of we drafted a rough draft of the outline of questions that he was going to talk about, and then towards the end we just kind of decided it was best to kind of just let them on stage and talk about their experience. We figured that would be the best way, and then the audience can ask questions, because in the beginning it was going to be a Q&A hosted by Linda, and we would ask questions and go back and forth, and then we decided that it was for them to just speak on it, share their experience and see what they had to say. And so I really had no idea what they were going to say, and it was truly impactful to see, to hear what they had to say. And the crazy thing is that I was in Asheville, I think 2 weeks before it happened, and I just went back there to see them again. And they worked hard, and you can definitely tell that a hurricane came through, but they worked hard, and it's the city's almost back to 100%. But it was truly impactful to see what the city went through, because you never hear of hurricanes in Western North Carolina, so it was pretty crazy.
Yes, I recall Robert Anders also touching on that fact, and I also felt personally that it resonated with me, not residing in the Southeast, how tragedies like that can occur, but then, the aftermath and how it affects the region, days, weeks, and months afterwards. So I thought that that was like a wonderful decision on a speaker. Now, did you get to pick the speakers, or are they volunteer told, kind of like you were in your position, or how does that work?
No, so yeah, luckily we got to pick the speakers, and luckily this industry is very giving. And when I called all of these speakers, all of them said yes, without hesitation. Mr. Anders, Britt, Luke, Mr. Butler, Hector, obviously. There was no convincing, there was no selling them of, hey, come speak at this. They all just said, yes, absolutely. And so we're blessed to be in an industry where people just want to give back and contribute to the events, to the industry. And thank you to all the speakers. Colleen, thank you for coming down, because you were one of the speakers as well. So it was great. It was a good time. So thankfully we did get to pick. We did get to pick them amongst ourselves, and when we reach out, they all said yes. So.
And the BMW event was amazing. I know that you put that all together and organized it. Were there any surprises with that? Like, were there any, GAWDA members that you were surprised really like took off, no pun intended, in the event, or anything that you would like to share with those who couldn't go?
So when I was putting together the event, BMW was very, easy to get along with. It was probably one of the easiest things to plan. And they sell you the event of, you have 2.5 hours of driving all these cars and just driving them as fast as you want. And quite frankly, I didn't believe them. They sold it so well, and I was like, that's too good to be true. And when we got there, they held their word. We got to race a bunch of BMWs for 2.5 hours, for as many times as we wanted. And some of the members, they did pretty well. They got behind the wheel, and they did what they were told, and they were told to race them like they told them. So that was pretty impressive. It was good to see the members do that.
Yeah, you had great weather for the event also. So you had mentioned to me that next year it's going to be Linda's turn to host the regional. Now, do you have any updates for everybody? Like, is it going to be like kind of like the same location, or is it going to be something new? Is it going to be a different outing? Is there anything that you could share with everyone?
So I don't know much. It's Linda's year, and I know it's going to be held at Stone Mountain around the same dates in March. But that's all that I know. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's wonderful. Is there anything else that you would like to share? I mean, I thought you did an amazing job. I know that your father was very proud of you, and you could not tell from the outside that it was your first time planning such a big event. And I felt it went off seamlessly. Is there anything else that you would like to share with the association in regards to the Southeast Regional?
Thank you to everyone that came. It really meant a lot, especially after not hosting that event for 6 years. And our first time back was in 2024, Linda's year. Linda really helped kick things off, and she kind of made it. She made it into an easy transition for me. So I want to thank my co-chairs. I want to thank all the speakers. I want to thank all the staff, and to everyone that just came. It was a lot of hard work, but seeing everyone come and have a good time, that was really rewarding. So I would love to do it again. Yeah.
Awesome. And do you have a message possibly even for the young professionals, those, we talk about it often, those trying to get involved, those who might be intimidated to step up and do a big event like that or volunteer to assist in a regional meeting or anything like that? Do you have any advice for the young professionals?
I mean, Nike says it best. Just do it. Just do it. Just get involved. Just dive straight into the pool head first. And because this industry is great, people will help you out. I had a million questions. I reached out to a million people, and they all answered my questions without hesitation. So someone will be there to help you and guide you, whether it's one person or multiple. The help is there. So don't be worried, don't be anxious, don't be hesitant to get involved. Just do it. It's a great time. It's really rewarding. You get to meet a lot of people. You get to make a lot of great connections and a lot of great relationships as well.
That's a great message, Nico. And thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me today and to answer some of these questions. And it's really awesome to see you grow within the association too, having seen you come to your first meeting and working with your dad and everything. So, okay. Well, thank you so much. And thank you for everybody else.
Colleen, Nico, thank you so much for being with us today. We really appreciate it.
GAWDA Media is the go-to resource for news and information about the gases and welding industry. Through our wide variety of publication platforms, GAWDA Media keeps our members up to date on all of the most breaking news, emerging trends, and member events in the industry. Want to get your company's message seen? We have a quarterly print publication, a twice-monthly newsletter, an online buyer's guide, and a twice-monthly news show. If it's happening in gases and welding, it's happening on GAWDA Media. Want to learn more? Contact your GAWDA Media representative today.
Today's member news segment is brought to you by Anthony Carts. Check out the new CB6 6C 2WL HT cylinder cradle with full 360-degree mobility and heavy-duty handling today. This cradle is a rugged and highly maneuverable solution for transporting and storing industrial gas cylinders with ease. Whether you're operating a fabrication shop, gas distribution center, or field service operation, the CB6 6C 2WL HT offers unmatched versatility and strength. Learn more or request a quote at Anthony's website, www.anthonycarts.com. We begin today's member news segment with some sad news. GAWDA extends its condolences to the friends and family of Rich DiPolito, who passed away on June 27th. Rich was a loving husband, father, and grandfather who dedicated his life to his family. He will be truly missed. In happier news, mark your calendars today and join GAWDA and the CGA for the 2025 Young and Emerging Professionals Summit from August 12th to the 21st. This year's summit is called The Future in Sync, Harmonized Standards for Safety, Movement, and Innovation. To learn more or to register, click the link in the description below. Airgas announced that it had acquired AL Compressed Gases. Holston Gases acquired Advanced Welding Supply. Wisco acquired Reisinger Oxygen and Industrial and Technical Gases. B&J Welding Supply acquired GM Welding Supply. Sidney Lee Welding Supply acquired VMW Welding Supply and North Florida Welding Supply. In non-acquisition news, Maine Oxy named Seth Stanley as its new Director of Sales and Operations for the Southeast. Hahn Welding Supply co-presidents Josh and Eric Hahn were named Entrepreneurs of the Year by EY. And finally, PDC Machines welcomed Rich Latella as its Senior Director of Operations. To learn more about any of these member news items or to submit member news of your own, read the complete August 1st issue of the GAWDA Connection in your email inbox today or by clicking the link in the description below. And that's our show for this month. Once again, registration for this year's annual convention as well as the Northeast Regional Meeting are open now. To register for these events, click the links in the description below. We can't wait to see you at both of these events this summer. Until next time, for all of us here at GAWDA TV, this is Steve Guglielmo signing off.